In the foggy green mountains of Central Africa, a kind family of mountain gorillas made their home. Nobody could have imagined that within hours, a ranger would find himself making an impossible choice, one that would test the limits of trust between humans and the wild. This is a story of love, loss, and a moment that changed everything. Before you watch, remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss another touching story like this one, and write in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. The park rangers called them Maya, the gentle and caring mother, and Jabari, the strong father whose powerful chest beats could be heard echoing like thunder across the forest. They had a young son named Kito who was lively, full of wonder, and always playing. Every morning Maya would cradle her baby close while the early sunlight came through the leaves above. Jabari would stay nearby, watching them with pride and keeping them safe. The family lived in harmony, their world simple but full. There was no threat, no worry, just love and the peaceful flow of the wild. But one day in the afternoon, when the sky suddenly grew dark, the calm of the forest started to shift. Heavy clouds moved in overhead and an icy wind came rushing down from the mountain peaks. The rumble of thunder moved across the valleys. Jabari raised his head. He sensed it coming before it arrived, a low shaking in the ground beneath him, the sharp scent of damp earth rising quickly. Maya climbed to safer ground, pressing Kito tight against her body. But nobody could have imagined what was about to unfold. From the mountain above, a massive wave of muddy, rushing water came crashing through the narrow gorge. A flash flood, violent and unstoppable, raced down the hillside. It destroyed trees, tore through soil, and ripped apart branches with frightening power. Maya attempted to climb higher, holding on to slippery roots, her heart racing fast, but the wet ground crumbled under her. In one horrifying moment, she lost her grip. She cried out as her baby was torn from her grasp and dragged away by the surging water. Her scream filled the jungle. It was a cry of complete suffering, a mother's heart shattering. Jabari bellowed, a thunderous cry that made every bird go silent. Without any delay, he threw himself into the wild flood. What pushed him forward wasn't bravery, but love. A love so strong it went beyond all logic. The water was heavy with mud and broken wood. Jabari struggled against it with everything he had. His powerful arms cut through the rushing stream. Each move brought agony. Each breath was a fight, but he didn't give up. He couldn't quit. At last, through the swirling brown water, he spotted a tiny dark form trapped between two stones. It was Kito, not moving. Jabari scooped up the small body and dragged himself toward the shore. He was trembling, fighting for air. His energy was nearly gone, but somehow he made it to a little patch of green grass that rose above the flood like a small island. He set his son down carefully. Then he dropped beside him. Maya came stumbling from the forest, soaked in mud, her eyes wide with shock. She collapsed on her knees next to her child. Her shaking hands reached for the motionless little form. There was no noise, no breathing. The mother started rocking him gently, hopelessly, as though she could bring him back through her touch alone. Her quiet sobs mixed with the falling rain. Jabari struck the earth with his fists. The sound was low and awful, not from rage, but from deep sadness. The mighty silverback, leader of his family, had no power against this small, silent heartbreak. Right then, someone appeared from the edge of the jungle, Ranger Marcus. He had been inspecting the flooded trails when he noticed them. He stopped cold. What he saw was something no person could ever forget. The mother's wordless grief, the father's sorrow making the ground shake. Marcus' chest tightened. He realized he was watching the deepest kind of love and pain that the natural world could reveal. He also understood something else. Gorillas and mourning can be dangerous. One mistake could cost him his life. But when he looked more carefully, he didn't see wild animals. He saw parents, heartbroken, helpless parents. Marcus carefully lifted his hands, showing his open palms to prove he wasn't a danger. He took one slow step forward. The father gorilla spun around quickly. His chest made a low warning sound. The meaning was obvious. "Don't come closer." But Marcus didn't back away. He spoke in a quiet voice, keeping it gentle and steady, the way someone would comfort a scared child. "I'm not here to hurt you," Marcus said softly. "I only want to help." The gorilla couldn't understand his language, but it could sense his intention. Then Marcus did something remarkable. He lowered himself down into the mud, bowing his head to show respect. He was displaying that he meant no harm, that he could be trusted. It was the only way to reach them. The mother gorilla glanced from her baby to the human and back. Her cries stopped. In that stillness, she seemed to make a choice that defied all instinct. Very carefully, with hands that wouldn't stop shaking, she laid the small body on the ground close to Marcus. But the moment Marcus reached toward the baby, Jabari moved fast. The massive silverback stepped between them, his body like a wall. His eyes locked onto Marcus with an intensity that made the ranger freeze. A deep rumble came from Jabari's chest. Not quite a growl, but a clear warning. His huge hand rested protectively over his son's body. "I know," Marcus whispered, not moving an inch. "I know you're afraid. Has your son?" Jabari's chest heaved. His dark eyes burned with a father's protective fire. Every instinct told him not to let this stranger touch his child. Maya let out a soft, broken sound. She reached toward her baby, then toward Marcus, her body trembling between hope and despair. She looked at Jabari, her eyes pleading. The silverback's jaw tightened. He glanced down at his son's still form, then back at Marcus. The rain continued to fall. "Please," Marcus said quietly, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Let me try. I can help him, but I need you to trust me." For a long, terrible moment, nothing moved. Jabari stood like a mountain, wrestling with an impossible decision. Trust went against everything in his nature, but his son wasn't breathing. Maya made another sound, softer this time, almost like a plea directed at her mate. Slowly, painfully, Jabari's massive hand lifted from the small body. He took one step back, but his eyes never left Marcus. The message was clear. One wrong move and it would be over. Marcus' throat tightened. "Thank you," he whispered. He placed his fingertips softly against the baby's chest. Nothing. But then Marcus felt something else. The skin beneath his fingers was ice cold, too cold. His heart sank as he touched the tiny arms, the small legs. The baby's whole body was freezing. "Oh no," Marcus breathed. He looked up at Maya, then at Jabari, his face filled with new worry. "He's too cold," Marcus said, though he knew they couldn't understand his words. "Even if I restart his heart, the cold, it could be too much. Hypothermia." The baby had been in that freezing water too long. His core temperature had dropped dangerously low. Marcus knew what this meant. He had to warm the baby while trying to revive him or nothing else would matter. But how? Then he started. His hands worked with careful precision. Steady pushes on the chest, controlled breaths, complete concentration. He understood the risk. Jabari stood directly behind him, close enough that Marcus could feel the heat from his body, could hear every breath. One sudden sound could be the end of him. But he continued. "Stay with me," Marcus whispered to the tiny gorilla. "Don't leave them." But after several compressions, Marcus stopped. His face showed deep concern. "This isn't enough," he said aloud, his voice shaking. "He needs warmth. He needs it now." Marcus quickly pulled off his rain jacket and wrapped it around the small body, then pulled the baby close against his own chest, trying to share his body heat. But it wasn't enough. The baby was too cold, and Marcus knew it. Maya watched, her eyes following every movement. She could sense something was wrong. Marcus looked at her, his eyes desperate. "I need your help," he said softly, even though the words meant nothing to her. "Please." Then he did something that could have cost him everything. He gently, slowly extended the baby toward Maya, not to give him back, but to share him. Maya's eyes widened. She looked at Marcus, confused, afraid. "Please," Marcus whispered again. "Your warmth. He needs both of us." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, as if understanding something beyond words, Maya moved closer. She carefully positioned herself next to Marcus, her large body creating a wall of warmth. Marcus held Keo between them. The baby's tiny form cradled against both their chests. The mother's natural heat began to surround her child. Jabari watched, still tense, but he didn't move to stop them. "That's it," Marcus breathed. "That's it. We're warming him together." He resumed the chest compressions, but gentler now, careful not to disturb the warmth they were creating. His breath filled the baby's lungs. Maya's body heat surrounded her son. It was a collaboration that should have been impossible. A human and a wild gorilla working together to save a life. Jabari remained close, silent but trembling. His low rumbling had transformed. It wasn't a warning anymore. It was something different. A sound of waiting, of believing. Rain kept falling, but Maya's large body shielded them now, keeping the cold rain off her baby. Marcus didn't stop pressing, didn't stop breathing. Every moment seemed endless. 30 seconds passed, then a minute. "Come on, little one," Marcus murmured. "You're getting warmer. I can feel it. Come back." He could feel the tiny body gradually warming between them. Maya's dark eyes stayed fixed on her baby, her breath coming in short, anxious bursts. "I can't lose you," Marcus thought desperately. "Not in front of your parents, not like this." He had performed rescue breathing on humans before, but never on a gorilla. Never like this. Never with a mother's warmth surrounding them both. "Come on, little guy," Marcus murmured. "Come back to your family." He gave one more strong push, one more breath into the small lungs. 2 minutes had passed. The body felt warmer now, but still no response. Marcus felt his hope beginning to fade. "Please," he whispered. Then the forest became completely quiet. For a long moment, there was nothing but silence. Marcus' heart sank, but then a tiny cough cut through the stillness. Then a second one. A weak breath followed, and the small chest started moving again. For just a second, nobody stirred. Then Maya made a sharp, high-pitched sound that echoed through the jungle like a celebration of new life. She pulled Kito fully into her arms, holding him tight against her warm body, trembling with overwhelming relief. The baby coughed again, his little fingers curling around her fur. His body was still cold, but warming, and he was breathing. "He's breathing," Marcus said, his voice cracking. "He's alive." Tears filled Marcus' eyes. He had just seen life come back from nothing. Jabari lifted his face toward the sky that was starting to clear. A beam of sunlight broke through the clouds, lighting up his features. He released a roar, not from anger, but from triumph. It was the sound of a father announcing to the world that his son had survived. The rain began to ease. The forest seemed to come alive again. Marcus leaned back, completely drained, drenched, covered in dirt, but grinning through his tears. "You made it, little one," he said softly. "You're going to be okay." He looked at Maya, who was rocking her baby, keeping him warm. "We did it," Marcus whispered. "We did it together." He had done what seemed impossible. Then something even more incredible took place. Jabari came toward him slowly, moving with care. The enormous gorilla stood tall in front of the man. Marcus stayed perfectly still. His heart was pounding hard. Jabari stared down at him, his dark eyes holding something timeless. Not fury, but thankfulness. The same eyes that had warned him away now showed something completely different. Then, with a slow, purposeful movement, the great silverback lowered his head forward. It was a gesture of respect, a wordless expression of gratitude from the father who had almost attacked him to the father who now understood. "You're welcome, my friend," Marcus whispered. The mother held the baby close, swaying as his breathing steadied, her body warming him. Then Maya did something unexpected. She reached down and picked up a small white flower that had survived the flood. She held it, looking at it, then at Marcus. Gently she placed it on the ground between them. A gift, a thank you. Marcus' eyes filled with tears. He nodded slowly. I understand. You are welcome. The family turned and walked back toward the jungle, but before disappearing into the green mist, little Kito turned his head. His dark eyes found Marcus and held his gaze. A silent thank you. Then they were gone. Marcus remained alone. Rainwater dripped from the branches. He looked down at the white flower, then carefully picked it up. He held it in his palm as if it were the most precious thing in the world. He felt a deep calm, the kind that comes when someone has witnessed pure, unbreakable love. This wasn't simply a rescue. It was proof that kindness connects all creatures. As the sun's final rays touched the forest floor, Marcus tucked the flower into his shirt pocket over his heart. He whispered, "Thank you for trusting me." He turned toward camp, each footstep heavy but purposeful. Somewhere deep in the trees, he caught the faint, happy sound of a baby gorilla calling out. He couldn't help but smile. Did you enjoy this story? If you were in Marcus' position, standing between grieving gorilla parents and their dying baby, knowing one wrong move could cost you your life, would you have risked everything to try and save him? Yes or no? Let us know in the comments below. If you like the story, subscribe to this channel and leave a like. Thanks so much for listening. See you in the next video. Have a great day.